Hi, scholars. Happy Tuesday. Today we're going to be reviewing a bit of our play. Oh, hi, Tweety. We're going to be reviewing a bit of our play. We're going to be doing a new scene, and then we have a writing exercise as well. So we have a lot to get through. It is our only lesson of this week. I'm going to talk a little bit about what next week looks like and the rest of our um, mini break while we're out of school, what it's going to look like. Packets, possibly some Chromebooks. So make sure you're paying attention. Go ahead and click the link below to get your reader ready. We're going to review our play before we start Act 4, Scene 1. Then we're going to read that one. So like I just talked about for this week, we're going to review our play and we're going to read our new scene. It's Act 4, Scene 1. We have a writing activity near the end of it, so you're going to have to get about a piece of loose leaf paper to write on your own. And then we're going to be talking about how we're going to pick up our new packets and then the assessments we're going to have. We're going to have a few quizzes on Edulastic. That way you're still getting your grades this trimester. And then we're going to talk a little bit about what Chromebooks look like as well for this Thursday when you guys are able to pick everything up. Hi, Wiki. So first, we're going to review Act 1, Scene 1. This is the very beginning of our play. You guys have probably heard of this to death by now, but it'll be quick. So remember, the Duke of Athens is preparing a grand wedding of his own at the very beginning of our play, and he's a little busy, so he doesn't have time for things like this lover quarrel that's brought to his attention. So Aegeus, Hermia's father, has a big problem. She won't marry the man he tells her to, and instead she's trying to run away with this man Lysander. So let's look through our characters. Helena loves Demetrius. Demetrius loves Hermia. Hermia loves Lysander, and Lysander loves Hermia. So, it's a pretty big problem. The only people that are really happy are Lysander and Hermia. They want to run off and get married in another city. So, since her father and the Duke threaten death or becoming a nun, Hermia runs away with Lysander to get married, and they pass through the forest in their escape. Act 1, Scene 2 introduces us to our second of our three big groups of characters. Our first group is our Athenians. That's Lysander, Demetrius, Helena, all them. Our second group of characters are the workmen. These are our actors like Nick Bottom and Peter Quince and all the other side characters. So, in Act 1, Scene 2, we're introduced to the workmen. Try and think back, what is the objective of the workmen? What are these actors trying to do? What do we learn about Nick Bottom's character right away? What do we instantly know about him? Think back to our obstacles and motivations in our character chart. That should help you fill in the blanks. So we know since the Duke is getting married, the objective of the workmen is to put on a grand play to perform at his wedding. That way they can get a little bit of fame and renown if they put on a giant, famous, and successful show at the Duke's wedding. And what we learn about Nick Bottom's character right away is that he's really obnoxious, he's annoying, and he wants to be the star. He wants to have every role in the play all to himself. He sounds like kind of just an annoying guy to have a part of your acting troupe. So his obstacle is that Peter Quince won't let him play every role, but his motivation is just to be famous and to do everything himself. He doesn't want anyone else stealing a second of the limelight. In Act 2, Scene 1, we meet our third and final group of characters. So we have the Athenians, we have the workmen, the actors, and lastly we have our fairy characters. These are Oberon, Titania, and Puck. So in Act 2, Scene 1, we meet the king and queen of the fairies, Oberon and Titania. Think, how is their relationship? How is a king and queen supposed to act? Think about how two people who are married are supposed to treat one another. What do they discuss when they meet in the forest clearing? What is their conversation about? Think back to the tone argument we had about it. We talked about the tone of their conversation. And lastly, what does Oberon plan on doing, and who does he send out to act out his scheme? So he has a scheme. What is he planning on doing, and who's going to do it for him? So we know their relationship right now is a little bit hostile. They're not super friendly. They discuss who gets custody and who gets to own the changeling boy. So remember, Titania has this little boy that belonged to the priestess who worshipped her, and Titania ended up taking the boy after the mother died and raised it as their own. Oberon wants the boy to be his henchman, though, so they're arguing about who gets this child. Oberon plans to get revenge. He wants to put a love juice in Titania's eye, the love and idleness flower. That way she falls in love with the first thing she sees. He hopes it's an animal to really embarrass her, and he can steal the boy away then. He sends out Puck to do this. It's his trusted right-hand man, even though he's a bit of a jokester and a trickster. In Act 2, Scene 2, we cut back to our Athenians from our fairies. So Helena and Demetrius are wandering the forest. Who are they searching for? Why is Helena in this forest? And why is Demetrius in this forest? Think why Helena might be with Demetrius. Who does Helena find in the bush? What happens to them when they wake up? What does this crazy person start ranting about? Does Helena believe them? What does Lysander swear to do at the end of the scene when Hermia is mentioned? So, knowing what we know about our characters' motivations, Helena is with Demetrius in the forest because she is still in love with him and she still wants to marry him and convince Demetrius that he should leave Hermia behind and focus on those who actually care about him. Helena finds Lysander in the bush, and we know from Puck messing up and putting the wrong love and idleness juice, he put it on Lysander's eyes. So when Lysander sets up in the forest, the first person he sees is Helena, and he starts ranting and raving about her beauty, how he'll kill Demetrius to get him out of the way, and how just committed he is to her. Does Helena believe him, though? No, she actually takes this more as a joke. She thinks that Lysander is tormenting her and teasing her, and it's just a giant prank because she knows that Lysander already is getting married to Hermia. And at the very, very end, what does Lysander swear to do at the end of the scene when Hermia is mentioned? So when Helena says, "Leave me alone, go back to your fiancée Hermia," when he sees that Hermia is mentioned, he says that I will never spend another moment again with her in my life. I hate her. It's completely over. I am swearing my life to you, almost like he is a knight. Act 3, Scene 1 cuts back to the workmen in the forest. What are they doing? Think back to when we first met them in Act 1, Scene 2. What are they practicing? Who specifically does Puck take notice of during all this? So who has his attention for a trick later on? Who is Puck paying close attention to? When Bottom comes back out on stage, how does the cast react to him? What does Bottom think is going on? What does he think is happening? And as Bottom sings a song, who does he awaken? Why is this so important? So we know the workmen are practicing a play for the Duke's wedding, so that's why they're out in the forest in the first place. They probably don't have anywhere else to practice. We know that Puck pays special attention to Bottom during all this, and that when Bottom goes off stage, Puck follows him. And when he walks back out on stage, think to our photo right there, what we all know about Bottom, his head gets turned into a donkey. The cast reacts like they just saw a monster, and they all start fleeing away and running. Bottom, on the other hand, think that this is all just a prank. Why are they all running away? Apparently in this play, anytime something weird happens, oh, it's just a prank, you're just messing with me. And lastly, as Bottom sings a song, look at the other character in our photo. He wakes up Titania, Queen of the Fairies. Why is this important? We could talk about that for multiple reasons and even opinions, but I would say this is important because this plays into Oberon's plan. She's now falling in love with someone embarrassing so that Oberon can steal away the fairy boy. So that's going to be a direct result. And it's going to lead us right into the ending of our play now that his plan is starting to succeed. So this is our big one from last Thursday. So let's recap first before we get to our short new one. Act 3, Scene 2. So Oberon and Puck realize what a mess they have made. They now see all these problems. Let's list them out and look how many there are. Demetrius now loves Helena back, but she thinks it's a joke. So now their love is ruined. Lysander now loves Helena instead of his fiancée Hermia, so now he's all mixed up. Hermia is furious at Lysander and Helena for stealing away her man. So Hermia is now mad at everyone and she's left alone. Helena is convinced that this is all just a trick to be mean to her, so she insults Hermia and calls her short and a quote, little acorn. So everyone is all screwed up. No one's happy anymore. This is so much worse than it was at the beginning of the play. Puck helps Oberon fix this mess by creating a fog to put everyone to sleep. They hope that applying the cure to their eyes, remember the other flower that Oberon has, they could put everything back to normal. Puck ends the scene with this line: Jack shall have Jill, naught shall go ill, and all shall be well. So Jack is going to have Jill. Everyone's going to have their right person again. nothing will go ill. Nothing is going to go wrong. We're going to fix this and have everyone fall in love with who they intended to. So they're going to try messing around one more time. So you should scroll down and grab our reader below. We have our digital copy. When you get it, I want you to open it up to page 106. Go ahead and scroll down to page 106 for Act 4, Scene 1. We're going to read our summary first and then our script. Starting with our summary. Meanwhile, back in Titania's bower, remember a bower is like a flower, a bed made of flowers. Oberon comes forward with Puck, sees Titania sleeping with Bottom, and feels sorry for her. Now that he is the changing boy, he removes the spell from her. She is horrified when she sees that she has been in love with a donkey. Oberon tells Puck to remove the donkey's head from Bottom, but leave him sleeping. So far we know that Oberon's plan is successful, Titania is ashamed and embarrassed, and that Bottom has been transformed back. So let's read the actual script now so we can see what happens when Bottom wakes up. So again, flip the page or scroll down to the script, Act 4, Scene 1. It's just a monologue by Bottom on page 108. Bottom, awakening. When my cue comes, call me and I will answer. My next is, most fair Pyramus. Hi-ho, Peter Quince, flute, the bellow mender, snout the tinkerer, starveling, gods, my life, stolen hence, and left me asleep. I have had a most rare vision. I have had a dream, past the wit of man, to say what a dream is. Man is but a butt, if he go about to expound this dream. So looking over at our vocab, expound is a verb. It means to describe in detail. Think of explain as like expound. He would saying he would be a butt if he'd go around trying to explain this dream to people. So he's probably going to keep it to himself. It's too crazy. He thinks it's all just some dream he had. Methought I was, there is no man can tell what. Methought I was, and methought I had, but man is but a patched fool. If he will offer to say what methought I had. A patched fool is basically a clown. He would be a clown if he went around telling people if he said what he thought he had. So if he went around telling people that he thought he had a donkey for a head, everyone would think he's a clown and a big old fool. The eye of man hath not heard, the ear of man hath not seen. Man's hand is not able to taste, his tongue able to conceive, nor his heart to report what my dream is. So he's using all these mixed up senses. So for example, the eye of man hath not heard. We don't hear with our eyes. The ear of man hath not seen. We don't see with our ears. He's saying that man doesn't use all these senses like that. No one would be able to understand what I did or what happened to me because it was magical. I can't explain this to a normal person. I will get Peter Quince to write a ballad of this dream. It shall be called Bottom's Dream, because it hath no bottom, and I will sing it in the later end of a play before the Duke. Bottom exits. So he's going to have Peter Quince write a ballad about this dream he had. If we look at our vocab, a ballad is a poem or song that tells a story. So if I can't explain to people what happened here, I'm going to write a song about it and just sing it. That way they can think, oh, it's just a song. But to him, he's still able to share what happened to him. A ballad is a poem or song that tells a story. So it's not a typical song. You've probably heard a lot of ballads, no matter what kind of music you listen to, without realizing it. It's any song or poem that tells a story. Like a character's in the beginning, stuff happens to them, and they're different by the ending. It's like there's a whole thing that happens throughout the song. So for our writing activity today, we're going to practice writing a ballad of our own. So a ballad is a song or a poem that tells a story. Here's an example of one that I picked. It's called The Ballad of Davy Crockett. Born on a mountaintop in Tennessee, green estate in the land of the free. Raised in the woods, so he knew every tree. Killed him a bear when he was only 3. Davy Crockett, king of the wild frontier. So, this tells us a story about the character Davy Crockett. We know where he was born, we know what he did. It isn't just singing about an emotion or an experience. It's talking about a story. So you guys are going to help Bottom write a ballad of his own about his dream. So, Bottom wants to perform a ballad of his dream, but he needs your help. First, you should imagine an interview with Bottom to hear his perspective on his amazing night. So, we're going to answer some questions, and I want you to answer them as if you were Bottom. You're going to use his point of view. So, we're going to include some examples from the text to support our answers, obviously. Then we're going to write Bottom a ballad that reflects his story. So, how he is transformed, what happens to him, and how it ends. So, it doesn't need to rhyme or it doesn't have to be set to music, but you are if you want to. So it's up to you and Bottom to answer these following questions. So if you don't feel like we're moving too fast or you need extra time, you can pause the video on our questions. I'm also including in the description below a link to the activity page. So if you have access to a printer, you can print it off as well, or you can just copy the questions down on a separate loose leaf piece of paper. So all you need is a piece of paper and a pencil, nothing else for right now. So here are some of our questions that I want you to pretend like you're asking Bottom. When you answer them, I want you to make up an answer that you think he would give you. So, what is your greatest want in life? What do you think Bottom wants more than anything else in life? So if I was Bottom, something I might say is that I might want to play every part in a play. That's the greatest thing I want in life. Number 2, what did you expect when you went to the forest? Well, Bottom might have been expecting a normal play and his rehearsal. He probably didn't expect all that nonsense to happen to him. He may have expected just normal rehearsal, or he may have expected something else to happen. 3. What happened to you there? So, all of us should be able to answer for Bottom here. We all know what happened to him, and then we all know how it ended. So think about what little adventure he goes on. Number 4 is an opinion, so you can go either way. If you could go back in time, would you still go? So think, if you were Bottom and you knew this was going to happen, would you still go to the forest and have all this happen to you? You might say, yeah, I would still go. It was a great adventure and I got a cool story out of it that I'm writing a ballad about. Or, no, it wasn't worth how scary it was. We don't know what it must feel like to have a donkey for our head. It may have been really itchy. He might have nightmares about that for the rest of his life. Number 5, were you sorry to wake up from your dream? So maybe he was sorry to wake up from like, oh darn, I was enjoying myself so much. Think about when you have a really great dream and then your alarm goes off and you have to wake up and go to school and you want to like go home and continue your dream later. Was he sorry to wake up for it or was he glad it's over? 6, what has changed because of your dream and what has stayed the same? So has anything in his life changed? You can think about what happens after the play's over. Maybe Bottom becomes really successful and famous. Everyone loves this song. They think it's a great fake song that someone wrote. Or everything stayed the same. He's not successful. He's still working in the workmen. He's working with the other workmen. They're still trying to put on plays. So do you think his life changed or do you think his life stayed the same because of his dream? And lastly, this is mostly your opinion, scholar, that you're going to put in for Bottom. What musical style best represents your dream? So do you think this would be a rock and roll song? Do you think it'd be like a folk song with a little bit of guitar and banjo? Do you think it's a rap? Do you think it's a poem without any music, like just kind of like a poem we would write? Why? And what adjective applies to both your dream and the musical style? So when we write our ballad, just think about what kind of adjective you would describe this. Is this just like a hardcore rap song? Is this like a folksy, like really soft rock and roll? Like really, it's rock and roll, but it's not really aggressive. How would you describe the music? So now we're going to work on actually writing Bottom's ballad. So you're going to use your answers to the 7 questions, and you're going to write a ballad for Bottom. You can use a loose leaf piece of paper, or you can print off, if you have access to a printer, the worksheet. It's linked below. These are just some example lines here, but it's going to be around 12 lines. Remember, we're writing this like poetry, so it's not going to be a bunch of sentences on every line. You're going to finish a thought on one line and then move on to the next. I'm not asking for like 20 words a line. I'm just saying for a good sized sentence and then move on to the next. It doesn't need to rhyme and it doesn't need to follow a musical score. You're just going to use our answers to our questions. Remember, not a lot of poetry rhymes in the first place. Mr. Shian's not the greatest rhymer either. I have to use websites too most of the time. But if you have access to that, you can use some websites to even help you create some of these rhymes. When you're done with that, make sure that you just put the loose leaf piece of paper aside. You can include it in your packet when we collect them on Thursday. In a moment, we're going to move on to wrapping up, but take a moment to pause the video here to write your ballad. Wrapping up now, make sure you've completed your ballad on a separate piece of paper. Again, the activity page is attached in the video description. We're going to work on obtaining new copies of our packet this week. So, you guys have spring break starting this Friday and next week. When you come back, we're still going to have 2 weeks off. You're going to be working from home for 2 weeks before we come back to hopefully school. I believe it is May 4th. Yes. So you'll still have 2 weeks. Myself, Miss Corey, and Miss Yosef have created a new packet, and we're going to be doing it just like we have been. You're going to be working on the packet alongside of our videos. The only thing that's going to be a little bit different is that this Thursday at the school, we're going to be passing out these packets, and we're also going to be checking out Chromebooks to scholars who need them. So it's from 10:30 to 12:30, but also I believe if you come after that, you're still going to be able to get a packet in the next week. So reach out if you're not able to stop by and pick up your new packets. I'm going to be calling home tomorrow to update parents and everything, offer computers if they need them. But you need to make sure you're getting that new packet because we're still going to be doing assessments on Edulastic. I believe each week you're going to have at least one for each class. That way you're still getting a grade in the third trimester. I know you're going to have one the week we come back after spring break for ELA. We're going to have a writing essay. And then the week after that, we're going to have a mid-content quiz when we start our next unit, Unit 8, when we study Native Americans. So, in the meantime, I want you guys to go ahead and finish up any work you have now. You're only going to have this one video this week, but enjoy your spring break. Hopefully, I'll see a lot of you guys getting your packets on Thursday. If you have any questions or you need help getting packets or getting any resources, make sure you call, and then I can try and help you guys out and deliver what I can. But in the meantime, stay safe and have a good day.